look at the mammalian heart, this is an undissected or unbisected heart, cut open. This is already bisected. So this will help us when we take a look at the internal structure. We'll show you it from here. External structure you see from here. First, we'll start to know the anterior and the posterior side of the heart. That's the front and the back. This is the front of the heart, and here is the back. So this is the anterior side of the heart. That's the front, while here is the back. How to identify it is with this blood vessel. This is called coronary artery, specifically the left anterior coronary artery. It forms something like V, which helps you to identify the anterior side of the heart. So this is the way the heart appears, protruding towards the left lungs actually. So but here at the back side, that's the posterior side, you have this straight line. This one is also called coronary vein, which returns blood to the heart. It's in use here. You can easily identify the back by this structure looking like E a bit. See here, writing letter E, with this being the longest. So this is the back side of the heart, while here is the front side of the heart. So for the bisected one, look at it. This is also the left anterior descending artery, which shows the anterior view of the heart, while here is also the back of the bisected heart. Here we go with the layers of the heart. The heart actually is enclosed by a two-membranous sac. It has been removed here. There is a sac that encloses the entire heart muscle. This main heart muscle is called myocardium, which is shown here. Myocardium, myocardium. But there is a sac that encloses it. The sac is called pericardium, and it encloses a fluid called pericardial fluid. The pericardial fluid reduces the friction generated by the pumping action of the heart. It's similar in content with the cerebrospinal fluid, but here is working as a shock absorber. As the heart is beating so aggressively, the fluid helps to reduce the friction. So when we come to the layers of the heart, at least we have tackled number one layer. The outer layer is the pericardium, which is actually the sac which has been removed. Then followed by the heart muscle itself, that's the myocardium. This is it, myocardium, myocardium, myocardium. The main heart muscle is the myocardium. So as we can see, there is more of the myocardium in the left side of the heart than in the right side, a bit thin. So when we come to the inner membrane of the heart, the inner layer of the heart is called endocardium. It's actually this smooth surface. If you look where you see there is like a leathery slight surface. So the inner layer, this smooth surface, is called the endocardium. The endocardium. Actually, endocardium is the smooth surface as we see here. It's more like a leathery smooth surface. So we have after the myocardium, we have the tiny membrane, which forms the smooth layer inside the heart called endocardium. That is where these all these tendinous cords are attached. So that is it for the layers of the heart. See the chambers of the heart. The heart chambers are divided into 4. 2 ventricles and 2 auricles. Auricles are the upper chambers, while the ventricles are the lower thicker chambers. So when we come to this one, here throughout actually are the ventricles. Then upper here, this is the auricle, this is the auricle. From here up, auricle, here also auricle. They are actually called auricle because of this ear-like shaped structure, giving them the name auricle. You can also call it atria. So ventricles are actually larger and thicker than that of the auricles, but the upper chambers are the auricles, while lower chambers are the ventricles. Now, when we come inside the heart, this is already bisected in this way. So we go down. Here is the left ventricle. Left ventricle. The same chamber here also. Left ventricle. So cover the two together. So here and here are left ventricles, while here is the right ventricle. Right ventricle. And here also the right ventricle. So right ventricle, left ventricle, left ventricle. So to the upper chambers, here is the right auricle, left auricle, and right auricle. So these are the 4 chambers of the heart. By a mere look, you see that the ventricles are more muscular and thicker than the auricles. This could be up to 3 cm in thickness. But when we come here, it's just a membrane of a few centimeters, about 2 cm, about not even 2 cm, about 0.2 cm in thickness for the auricle. But this is muscular. So the lower chambers are more thicker. Then the heart is divided into 2 sides, left and right, by a muscular septum. This is the muscular septum. When you watch this septum, it's thicker at the lower part. So the ventricular septum is thicker, and here is the auricular septum, which is thinner a bit. Special features of the heart chambers. The right ventricle is recognized by this. They have what we call trabeculae canal. All these irregular columns is a feature of the right ventricle, trabeculae canal. That is how to identify them structurally. Then another special feature is the pectinate muscles of the auricles. This is actually parallel muscles. We call them pectinate muscles, and they are only feature of the auricle. It is not in the ventricle. So don't confuse the pectinate muscles of the auricle with the trabeculae canal of the right ventricle. There are 4 main heart valves. Number 1 is the bicuspid valve, 2 tricuspid valve, 3 pulmonary valve, or what we also call semilunar valve, then finally the aortic valve. All these 4 heart valves are similar in their function. They all prevent the reverse flow of blood in the heart. In other words, they ensure one directional flow of blood. So let's show you these valves. We start with the bicuspid valve. Over here is the bicuspid valve, also known as mitral valve. Bicuspid valve or mitral valve. This flap is the valve itself. So it actually occurs in between the left auricle and the left ventricle. The left ventricle and left auricle. So this valve prevents the flow of blood back, that is from the left ventricle to the left auricle. So that when the ventricles contract, the left ventricle contracts, blood is supplied into the aorta, that's here, without going back again to the auricle. So that's it. Another one is the tricuspid valve over here. The tricuspid valve is found in between the right auricle and the left and the right ventricle. It's found in between the right auricle and the right ventricle. Tricuspid plays the same function, prevents reverse flow of blood, so that blood will not move from the ventricle to the auricle, rather moves from the auricle to the ventricle. Now the next one is the pulmonary valve. Actually, pulmonary valve is found in the pulmonary artery, which is here. This is the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery, which have these valves here. Okay, let's take a look at it here. This is actually pulmonary artery. The valve inside it, we can't show you that, is called pulmonary valve. It prevents the reverse flow of blood. Blood cannot move back but out from the heart. So as the heart is supplying blood to the lungs, it cannot come back. Rather, it moves out from the heart through this. Then finally, we have the aortic valve. The aortic valve is just found just below the exit of the left anterior descending artery here. So if you watch well, you see a flap. It has been a bit damaged here. So this flap is the aortic valve, the atrium number. We have fixed this heart, so it's already flaccid, not strong enough as it's supposed to be. So this is called aortic valve. It makes sure that blood flows out like this and doesn't come back. So that's the heart valves. The valves, like the bicuspid valve, is attached to the myocardium by a means of cord called tendinous cord. So this is called tendinous cord or cordia tendineae. is also found in the tricuspid, cordia tendineae, tendinous cord. Okay, we take a look at the blood vessels of the heart, the great vessels first. At least we take a look at the aorta first. In the bisected heart, this is the aorta, which is connected to the left ventricle. Then in the unbisected heart, this is the aorta, which is coiling to form the arc in this way. So this is the aorta, and the aorta takes oxygenated blood away from the left ventricle. That's the largest artery in the body, is the aorta actually. Then another great vessel, we also take a look at the largest vein, which is the vena cava. Over here is the vena cava, which returns blood from the heart, returns blood from other body parts back again to the heart. That's to the right auricle. The vena cava is divided into two. We have the superior and inferior. This upper here is the superior. It returns blood body probably from, while this returns blood from part of the body beneath the heart, probably from legs, your belly, that's your abdomen. This returns blood. So if you check this, the opening starts here, it empties its content here. So this is it for the superior vena cava. While down here is the inferior vena cava. They return deoxygenated blood or oxygen poor blood back to the heart, specifically in the right auricle. Then the next one is the pulmonary artery itself. The pulmonary artery runs closer to the aorta. That's it here in the unbisected heart. The pulmonary artery, it starts from the right ventricle. This is right ventricle. Remember, this side is the right side, right here is the left side of the heart. So this is the right ventricle actually. So the blood vessel here is called pulmonary artery, which takes deoxygenated blood away from the heart, taking it to the lungs in pulmonary circulation. That's how it works. As you can see, this moving here, obstructed a bit by the valve. Then coming to the bisected heart for us to see it clearly, this chamber here is the right ventricle internally, and what is coming inside it, this particular blood vessel here, is the pulmonary artery, which takes oxygen poor blood away from the heart to the lungs for oxygenation. Remember, almost all the arteries, not almost, all the arteries in our body carry oxygen-rich blood, except this particular blood vessel, pulmonary artery, which carries deoxygenated blood. Then the next blood vessel we see in the heart is the blood vessel that supplies the heart itself. So the blood vessel that supplies the heart itself is called coronary blood vessels. That is, we have coronary arteries and veins. Coming to the coronary artery is divided into two. This opening here is an exit for the left, actually an exit for the this is actually the right, please. This is the right coronary artery, while here is the left coronary artery, left, that comes out here, that leads from here to form the left anterior descending artery. So here is left coronary artery, while here is right coronary artery. They all supply blood to the myocardium, this main heart muscle. So the heart do not get nourished from the blood inside the chamber. As it is pumping to supply blood to others, it supplies also to itself. So blood enters into this, and from this the heart gets nourished. So the two arteries are responsible for nourishing the heart. Then after nourishment, Other coronary blood vessels also return deoxygenated blood back to the heart. This time around, the veins. That's here. So here is the coronary vein that formed the sinus, emptying into the right auricle. So after the heart has been nourished, the poor blood from the heart itself returns again to the right auricle through this opening called coronary sinus. Coronary sinus is just diffusion of the whole coronary artery, diffusion of the whole coronary veins that eventually returns oxygen poor blood to the heart. So we now know that this right side of the heart, specifically the right auricle, receives oxygen poor blood. The heart returns its own through the coronary sinus, while other body parts returns their own through the vena cava. So these are the blood vessels of the heart. Here it shouldn't be confused. So this is the pulmonary artery still, but divides into two in this way. It divides into two. These two things are connected through the same channel, as you can see. It's the same hole together with this one. So this and this passes here. So this one takes to the left lungs, then this one takes deoxygenated blood to the right lungs. So actually they join together. So the pulmonary artery divides into two, one taking blood to the right lungs and one taking to the left lungs. They are all joined here. Then we have the one that returns oxygenated blood back to the heart. Remember, this is the left auricle, right auricle for undissected heart. That's the posterior view of the heart still. So when we check this one returns blood from the left lungs. So this is left pulmonary vein, and here is right pulmonary vein, returning oxygen-rich blood. That's after oxygenation in the lungs. This brings it back to the heart, starting from the right lungs, while this one brings back again, starting from the left lungs. So don't confuse it. As you can see, the blood vessels of the heart. If you look at the beat of the heart, actually, heartbeat is initiated in the same right auricle by a sino-arterial node. That's something closer to the opening of the superior vena cava. You can't actually show it here, but just know that the heartbeat, there is first auricular contraction before ventricular contraction. So the auricles contract before the ventricles. So we have something like this first. Maybe the auricle, when they contract, they push blood to the ventricles. So when the ventricles contract, they supply blood outside the heart, and that's the beat of the heart. This is the physiological reason why the ventricles are generally thicker than the auricles, because the ventricles have longer distances to supply blood. But when auricles contract, they only supply blood within the heart. For example, right auricle contracts, supplying blood to the right ventricle. But when the left auricle contracts, it supplies blood to the left ventricle. So they have shorter distances. That's the auricle. That's why they are thin. But this one have to pump blood to longer distances. So the thickness of the myocardium in the ventricles is to enable them supply blood to longer distances. For example, the right ventricle supplies to the lungs, which is outside the heart, while the left ventricle supplies to other body parts. That's why it is thicker. So the left ventricle is the thickest chamber among the four chambers. So from the left ventricle, we see the right ventricle in decreasing order of the thickness of their muscle. Left ventricle thickest, as you can see, then followed by the right ventricle, then the left auricle, and the thinnest is the right auricle. So one heartbeat actually is made up of two stages: systole and diastole, or what we call systole and diastole. That is, systole diastole makes up one heartbeat. So the systole and diastole makes up one heartbeat. Systole is when the heart chambers are contracting, as we show you from the fresh heart, unpreserved before. So in systole, it shows when the right chambers, actually when the heart chambers, are contracting to supply blood. This has been fixed in formalin, so it's stiff. now is systole. When you relax this way, diastole. Systole, diastole. So systole is the stage when the heart chamber, specifically the left ventricle, is contracting to supply blood to the other body parts. But the diastole is when the chambers of the heart are relaxed in this form, while when they are contracting, we call it systole. So one systole completed by one diastole marks one heartbeat. One systole with one diastole marks one heartbeat. And remember that at rest, a normal adult woman have the range of 70 to 75 times heartbeat per minute. This may vary, but there are other factors that affect the heart rate. Gender, of course. The heart weighs heavier in males for human, then lighter in females, but beats faster in females. One should know that the rate of heartbeat varies from individual to another, but the range is about 70 to 75 times per minute. It may also go as low as 60 times per minute. Now, one should also know that what we illustrated in the video is actually the heart of a cow, but it's similar to that of ours because we are the same mammal. The anatomy of our heart is the same. The function is the same. The primary function of the heart actually is to pump blood. So one should know there are many effects the rate of heartbeat. Gender, as we have seen, that females have higher rates than males. Gender is one of them. Emotion, when you are afraid and when you are relaxed, your heartbeats won't be the same. Then temperature may also have an effect. But one should know that mammalian human heart of the heart we are showing here is quite big. Our own is approximately the size of our fist. So the size of the heart is approximately the owner's fist. So that's it. To take care of your heart, one should know that taking exercise regularly is one of the ways to take care of our health. To avoid myocardial infarction or heart failure from atherosclerosis, at certain age, one should not eat so much food that contain high cholesterol so that it won't go and block the blood vessels. And this may lead to cardiovascular diseases. So you taking high cholesterol may block these arteries which nourishes the heart itself, and it may lead to heart failure. So reduce the level of the cholesterol you consume as an adult, because it will lead to atherosclerosis, that is somehow blocking of the artery or increasing the thickness, which narrows the size of the artery, making pressure high. And when such is not controlled, it may actually block entirely, leading to infarction in what we call myocardial infarction, causing the death of the heart muscles themselves. So to take care of your heart, mind what you eat and take exercise regularly, and also see your doctor frequently. Alcohol, not alcoholism, reduces the risk of heart diseases and risk of cardiovascular diseases in general. Alcohol increases the concentration of the plasma high-density lipoproteins, thus exerting a protective effect against atrial formation, which occur in atherosclerosis. But alcoholism, that is, alcohol dependence, will increase the risk of cardiomyopathy, hypertension, and stroke, destroy your liver, and remember, there is no life without the liver. Excessive smoking can also affect your heart. Remember to ask your questions. Anywhere you're confused about mammalian hearts, we have specialists that will take care of your question. We may not cover everything about the heart because it's hard, but remember to drop your question and subscribe. As you subscribe, you hit the bell so that when we get a new upload, we will notify you. We have many packages for you. No other channel is better than this channel. As far as you are there, we are here to make you happy and learn. Thanks for watching, and God bless you.